safe to say that there's no aspect of our lives that has been left untouched by the current pandemic, and that includes art. And for many artists, inspiration does sometimes come from some of the darkest times. Our regular contributor, Catherine, is in the studio now to introduce us to an exhibit that symbolizes hope and light as we stand together in these times of crisis. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning.
So good to see you again.
Very nice to be back.
Yeah, how have you been doing?
Very good. As we all know, many Koreans' lives are, it's business as usual with the addition of social distancing and masks. So it's been a busy time with work. And yeah, it's been good.
So it's good that businesses or work is kind of picking up, I guess.
Sure. I am grateful for that.
Right. Well, we hope that we can welcome you back to the studio every Wednesday from now on. For now, though, you're going to introduce us to an exhibit that symbolizes hope. Very lofty goal.
Sure. Art has a very transformative power. And I think it's really nice to see a museum kind of curating something for the people during these tough times. Although unfortunately, the regular exhibit won't be open until the 15th.
Okay.
But the great thing about this, and we'll be touching on this in a little bit, is that you can actually see it from outside.
Great.
And so it's something that you can still somewhat enjoy before all the museums kind of open up in a few days.
I mean, we return to the sort of everyday life quarantine, but because of this recent spate of infections, of course, they kind of tightened down on clamped down on these public museums, the national museums.
That's
so they are temporarily closed until, I believe, the 14th or 15th.
The 14th,
But this is something that you can enjoy now, and it's also outside, so you don't have to worry about being stuck indoors with lots of people as well.
Right.
So just a reminder, though, a lot of these private museums are still open and could be a way to beat the summer heat as long as they take the safety precautions, of course, right?
Right. It's really important that first you should check that they're open.
Right.
Obviously. And you should also check if you need to book in advance online. Many of the museums won't let you come in if you don't have a pre-purchased ticket.
Is that right? Okay.
Right. And I think this is mainly to kind of track how many people are coming into their doors. They don't want to sell too many tickets so it's overcrowded. And also when you do go, be sure to take a mask.
Of course.
It's very likely that you'll be denied entrance if you don't have a mask when you go.
All right. Let's talk about this work then that's supposed to maybe inspire hope and some lighter times, some brighter times. And it's got some historical context as well, I guess, in a way. So tell us about this.
So this piece is an installation sculpture. It's located at the Seoul Museum of Urbanism and Architecture.
Ooh, where's that?
It's right by City Hall. And it's actually located on the second floor of the building. And so I guess it's kind of like the rooftop in essence.
So it's kind of across the street from maybe the Seoul Finance Center or kind of next to the Koreana Hotel. I guess you've been thinking of it that way.
Very close to the British Embassy. And it's right on the main road.
Right. You can't miss it, actually.
Can't miss it. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially at night when it's illuminated.
All right.
So the piece is called Rebirth, or 환생 in Korean, by installation artist and architect Han Won-suk. So this piece is made of plaster, concrete, steel, and 1,374 abandoned automobile headlights.
Right. That in itself is quite unique, but then the shape is also very familiar.
Right. So it's in the shape of 첨성대, which is the oldest surviving astronomical observatory, not only in Korea, but also in Asia and possibly the world, I heard. It's 5 meters in length and 9 meters in height, which is the exact same size as the actual 첨성대. So it's kind of like not a So it's like a contemporary replica. Right, right.
So if you went to school here in Korea, I'm sure you will have visited the real Cheomseongdae in Gyeongju on one of your school trips, or if you're a tourist as well. It is one of the most famous sort of attractions in Gyeongju. And looking at a photo that we have up on YouTube, and I guess we'll have on our Instagram as well, it does look exactly like it. It looks like it's just been kind of transplanted into the city center.
Right.
But I imagine, at nighttime, it must be quite something. The automobile headlights, I imagine they light up.
They do. So they're discarded. They're used, discarded, and I don't think they were even really functioning. So they replaced the lights with LED lights, which is better for the environment, which is a huge theme in the artist's work. So this piece was actually created back in 2006.
I see.
Right.
So it's 14 years old.
Right. So it wasn't actually created and inspired by COVID-19. So this piece was actually part of the artist's solo exhibit that was leading up to, or it was supposed to start back in May, but they actually took the piece from that show and they brought it into this show because of coronavirus.
Because of COVID-19.
Right, right.
Okay.
So the piece originally was a commentary on the consumption of resources and as well as, the consumption of time. It hits upon historical references and, the relationship of those two themes. Because historically, Cheomseongdae was built for astronomical observation, as you mentioned. And it was a place where the most innovative science and technology would come together with the great minds. It was a place where they would look into the stars to foresee the future. And it was also a very significant symbol of the power and authority of the monarch at the time, which was Queen Seondeok. But, as all great things, our history went through countless ups and downs. We have from loss and ruin to rebuilding for a better future. And it's this idea of like rebirth and evolution that lies at the core of this piece.
And I guess with the discarded or abandoned headlights that are being used here, that also kind of symbolizes rebirth. We are reusing resources as well.
Right. Now in the age of consumerism, I think a lot of people think critically about the impact of the consumerism, of their own consumerism on the environment. The artist used these lights that were previously used to illuminate the roads for cars, but by re-illuminating them with LED lights, they've gone through this transformation of technology as well as life.
I kind of get the rebirth of the headlights and the connection with Cheomseongdae, but why was this piece chosen particularly to kind of send a message of hope to the Korean people during these difficult times? What's the significance exactly of this and COVID-19? Right.
Well, you have to look a little bit deeper into the kind of significance that the piece has and the intention of the artist. So the artist is definitely inspired by transformation and evolution. When many things decay or get destroyed and they lose significance from its previous glory. Like Cheongseomdae, for example, it was once a center for science and technology, but over time it's lost that significance. But it has, historical and architectural significance that just increases over time. And so I think, to simplify it, I think we can take this time of COVID-19 as one of those sort of lower points in society. It's part of this kind of greater fight for a time where, we overcome that and we get to a better place for it.
Right. I mean, Cheomseongdae Observatory, so it was meant to gaze at the stars, but I guess in a way, if you want to be kind of poetic about it, it's a way to also gaze into ourselves and look for the light within ourselves.
Right. So originally, the original Cheomseongdae in Gyeongju, it's meant to look into the stars in the sky. But this piece, it doesn't really have that function. It actually gets illuminated from within. And I think that's really symbolic, during these times because, well, the theme of the exhibit that this piece is in Korean, it's called 천년의 빛으로 희망을 비추다, which is, so the official translation that the museum uses is shine hope in 1,000 years light.
Okay.
Which, it signifies hope and togetherness during times of crises. With Korea's turbulent history, along with that, great hardship, we get stunning growth.
Right.
And I think that's very symbolic for these times.
So the theme of the exhibit is 천년의 빛으로 희망을 비추다. That lovely translation, shine hope in 1,000 years light. But on the side or the bottom kind of the actual piece itself, you see another phrase in Korean. It says 힘을 내요 우리. And that's something that we've heard repeated throughout these sort of the pandemic times, right? Isn't this kind of a catchphrase that we've been saying, like authorities and celebrities have been saying, fighting?
For sure. And I think it's really important to kind of reinforce that idea because, when people are struggling or are panicking, it's easy to kind of isolate yourself or forget that you're part of like a larger community. And it's great because Korea, especially as a society, is pretty close-knit, I think. And so by reinforcing this message in this beautiful piece that, if you can see it at night, especially, it has this impact of creating that light and that hope in a literal sense.
Have you seen it in person?
I have seen it in passing.
In passing, in a car or bus, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. So we can't get up close yet. But if you are kind of itching to get out and see something inspiring or something different, you can actually just see it from across the street in City Hall.
You said the regular admission will begin on the 15th, but for now, you can still enjoy it while in a car, bus, or just across the street as well. Lastly, Catherine, final sort of, I don't know, what's your thought on this piece? Finally, very quickly.
Sure. Well, I'm a huge believer in that, art can be very healing and it also brings togetherness amongst people. And I think, this piece is the perfect example of how art can really be a part of society and also a reflection of the times. Even when it wasn't even created during COVID, I think it's actually, art can have whatever meaning that you want to put onto it that might be, that pertains to you. And I think when you have that kind of relationship with a piece, it can actually really bring hope. And, that's something that we can all use today.
And I think everyone will have their own personal interpretation of this. So that was Rebirth, and you can check it out nearby City Hall. Thank you very much for that, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you.
I look forward to hopefully seeing you next week.
Sure.
And in the meantime, that'll wrap it up for our English edition of COVID-19 Live Update.